What an extraordinary thing the modern age is, where a friendship can pop up out of the blue in the digital sphere. That's exactly what happened with our next guest here on the podcast, known professionally as Elle Cartoons. For the last year, I've been putting out messages for artists on my Instagram in the hope that sharing my ups and downs on the creative path might help others. One day, I received a wonderful message from Lauren, aka Elle Cartoons, and we struck up a conversation, sharing a few stories about our own respective journeys. It was during one of these that she suggested we talk in person, even asking if I happened to have a podcast. I told her that I did, but that it was local to Berlin, but would be up for getting over my technophobia if she was willing to take a leap of faith with me. Having already followed her work on Instagram, I was already fired up to speak, but it was only later, during my research, that I stumbled upon her YouTube channels, which are approaching 700,000 subscribers. Phew, so no pressure there for a first online podcast. I shouldn't have worried though. What ensued was a riotous, laughter-filled and piercingly honest interview with a very special person. In the following conversation, Lauren takes us through her creative journey, the soaring heights and pitfalls of YouTube, what it takes to be an artist in the digital age, mental health battles, spiritual breakthroughs, and much, much more. It's with huge pleasure and excitement that I introduce you to Elle Cartoons with all her fire, zaniness, and go-getter attitude. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Elle Cartoons. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jim. It's so great to meet you.
Well, I just wish we could have actually started it from the second that we said hello, because I actually just needed all those giggles already.
Same.
Look, for me, one of the things that I try to do in my life, and it's become really important to me as I've become an older artist, is to try and throw some fire on to people's lives who are maybe a few years behind where I am, or people who are maybe coming up against an obstacle or a brick wall on their artistic journey. And so the first thing I want to say is just, you've given me this leap of faith as someone coming into the podcasting game very late. And I'm just like, you are throwing exactly the fire onto me that I'm trying to pass on to others. And I'm so grateful for that.
Oh my God, thanks. I mean, what happened was when I was on Instagram, like I just randomly got one of your pieces of content that came up on my, feed, which I wasn't even following you. It just came up as like a suggested post. And I was like, who is this dude? Like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Like, it's like you read my mind. Or Instagram algorithm read my mind. And and I just started following you. Like, I was just like binging all your stuff. And I'm like, this is the type of people I need to be friends with right now in my life. Like, and you ended up messaging me and saying, thanks for following. I'm like, the first thing I thought was, do you have a podcast? Cause like you have so much amazing, you just have so much amazing energy and it needs to come out to the world like ASAP. So I'm grateful that you hit me up.
But it was so strange because I literally just done my first 3 and it was all in Berlin. It was all one-on-one and that was how I wanted to do it. And then we got chatting. We were just like throwing each other voice messages. And I was like, who is this maverick artist? Like just, and then in one of them, you're like, hey, you should have a podcast. And then I was like, I'm just going to try my luck here. So it's just one of those things of synchronicity or synergy. And we need more of that.
Yeah, for sure. And I was definitely like trying to put out to the universe, like, I need more friends that are like positive, like excited beings and like motivated beings. I literally put that out to the world. And like, then I saw your stuff and I'm like, I think I'm supposed to be friends with this person. Yeah, so I'm like really glad that we like connected for sure.
It's so strange you say that because one of the paradoxes of the artistic path is this companion loneliness, as far as I see it. Now, I don't know that sounds like a very dramatic way to put it but I can certainly say that on my journey, it's this capacity to be at least alone, but also at times to experience profound loneliness. Now, the reason being is that, and this is something, it's weird that just came up immediately, because I was like, oh my word, when I found all of this work that you do, I was just like, man, the amount of work this human being must put in to create all of this work. I mean, each frame of each cartoon. And I was just like, okay, and I know we all have a different relationship with aloneness and loneliness and how we deal with ourselves mentally. But one of the realities, as far as I see it, when it comes to the arts, is that we have to deal with and tolerate what I call the dark room. And I'm just like, what's your reaction to that? What's your feeling, your expression? What comes up in you with that?
Well, what do you mean by I'm curious. What do you mean by the dark room?
What I mean is the space where you go, where you have to produce all this work and you have to do the fundamental body alone, and it can be wonderful and stimulating and exciting. But for you, has it been like also difficult at times, and has it been lonely? Like, do you identify with any of those things that I said?
Oh my God, you have no idea. It is the absolute loneliest thing in the world to make cartoons by yourself. Like, it's absolutely probably like one of my top 3 biggest challenges is not being, I guess, with another person or with a team, or like, I personally, I need human connection. Like, yeah. I'm not like an extrovert at all. Like, I'm super introverted in terms of, I don't know. I don't even know what extrovert introvert means, but like,
but you come across so warm.
I'm very like, I need, even like going to a Starbucks, and I don't want to talk to a single person. I just want to be around like love and good energy and just like vibes. Like, I hate the like feeling of dead in any way. So like being down here in my office or whatever, like with no energy gives me, I can't handle it. Like, but I don't necessarily like want to talk to people. I just want to be around it. I just want to be around aliveness and like just life. And that is not what you do when you make cartoons. You're just by yourself at a computer. And like if I'm writing a script or something, like I need to, you know, if I'm always writing scripts by myself, and it's so lame. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny, and it's like no one's around. No one's around to laugh at the joke or like essentially validate it or like tell me, oh, but what if? And so my passion, like one of my biggest passions, is to collaborate like with other people, and like one of my favorite things in the world would be like to be in a writer's room with like, you know, 5 different people, and we build something together and we just laugh and crack up. So anyway, to answer your question, being a YouTuber is so lonely, and it's definitely one of my top 3 biggest challenges of all time. And I'm actually in a phase in my life right now where I'm finally, after like 3, I don't know, I started being a YouTuber in 2019. So how many years has that been since now? 19, 20, 20. So 4 years. Finally starting to accept that this is like YouTube is a game where you do have to be comfortable being alone a lot of the time. You have to accept it. And eventually more people, like that team will form when it's ready. Yes. But yeah, anyway, like I'm rambling, but it's definitely something. I'm in a phase of my life now where it's like, I'm learning to finally accept the loneliness of it. And I'm learning to make the best of it. I'm learning how to enjoy it, actually. And now I'm at a place, which is insane 4 years later, where I prefer it, which is freaking insane, because I'd actually prefer working alone now. Like I had my sister come over, and I'm like, I used to be like, please come over and work with me, because she's a entrepreneur as well. Like she's a photographer. And so like, I would just love for her to sit on the couch and like edit her pictures while we like listen to music together.
Lovely.
Now I'm like, yeah, she came over recently, and I was like, I kind of don't want her here, and that sounds messed up, but it's like
it doesn't. But that's
it's the part. I kind of enjoy being alone now. It's like I finally, it's acceptance that I was like I finally. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're not rambling at all. You're being incredibly transparent, and I love that you are. That you don't fence it. You don't pretend it's other than it is, and I certainly relate to that myself. And it's this strange. I mean, I see it in no other terms than as a spiritual process, because the act of reconciling yourself with that has many different stages. And the early stages are you're excited and you're passionate and you're going to go into the world and you're going to manifest your gift and things are going to progress in your life and everything will be solved by giving that fire and that flame that you have. And then you reach the point, whether you have the success or not in the short term, where you have to start reconciling with the sheer amount of time that it takes to develop that talent. Because whatever talent it is, you have to put that out into the world. And at that point, it's about how one starts making that relationship with one's own mind. And beyond your own mind, I think with actually the degree of suffering that exists within that space, because it's just not always damn well easy. And so for me, when you're, as someone who's progressed as far as you have, and you've had so many people react to the talent, the validation of that original flame has been manifested, and yet you're still, no, it's difficult, man. And why that reaches me is I think that's something that is very relevant to people who, let's say, they haven't had that wider world success. It's just like, look, you're in the space that you need to be in, for better or worse. That is a part of the arts, and it's not a pretty message, but it's like, look, finding your way within that space is really important. So my follow-up question was, how do you bear it? Like, so when it's hard, when it's a bad day, like, how does it manifest? Do you experience resistance to actually wanting to go in the room at all? Do you have an active resistance to actually doing the next frame? And if so, what are the tools that you have to get you through that?
Oh my God. Again, like, you've no idea how bad my resistance is. It's absolutely, it's horrible. Like,
daily?
So, oh my God, every single day, and it's constant. Actually, it's so funny. Like, I feel like this is the perfect time for me to be having this conversation, because like, I'm finally in a place where I am able to handle this, but like, I just got here and it's been 4 years. So like, I think like what had to happen to me back when I was just starting YouTube, when I only had a couple thousand subscribers, whatever, before I was, this was my career.
Well, you went from 50 subs to 3,000 in a day very suddenly, I saw in one of your videos.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It was, so... so at the time, like I was working I was always interested in cartoons my whole life. So I went to art school, yada, yada. I graduated. I got a job at an animation studio in New York City called Titmouse. And I became a production assistant. Then, I did production there because my art itself isn't like industry standard professional. I just really enjoy the process of cartoons. I want to be part of it, even if I couldn't do the art. So I ended up... Yeah, and I absolutely loved it, and I ended up becoming a production coordinator. So I was at Titmouse for like 4 years, and there's still like this, like you said, flame, like this fire in me that's so desperate to be a creator and just like create and just make. And I love story so much. I'm just so passionate about. Yeah, go ahead. Do you?
No, I didn't want to interrupt. No, but I mean, I didn't want to interrupt. But maybe you heard my brain, because it's this love of story and this capacity to read the everyday and to find like beauty and the poetry in these small things. It's just something I love in your work. But I don't want to get into that now because I'm so into this I'm so into the resistance story. So please continue.
I know. I will let you get off topic, and we'll go like far away to some land we'll never come back. So yeah, I staying on the topic of resistance. I want to, basically my point is, what I'm trying to say is, I had resistance. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like resistance obviously comes from some kind of a fear. And there's a lot of fears that I just didn't have before I became a YouTuber that I just didn't even think of having, like I was just so ignorantly blissful, which I don't know. I just had I was just so like excited and passionate about making things. And I just believed I was so good at it. And like people always laughed at my cartoons, and I'm like, whatever. I took like this shot of becoming a YouTuber, quitting my production job. And I didn't have any resistance like at all back then, because I had so much validation from the people like around me that it made me feel like I 100,000 bajillion% believe in myself. There's literally no reason not to. Like my shit is so good. And it's such an amazing, blissful, like, ignorant kind of state to be in, which I love being in that state, because nothing can hurt you. You just believe in yourself so fully.
But beautiful that you have that connection, that you just felt it. And it's like, no, this is in me, and somehow or other, I'm going to do it. Like, that's just like really inspiring that.
I love that. And I have a gift with that where like, I do have this ability to believe in myself to the point where like, I know nothing's going to get in my way to get it. And the problem is like that extremeness that I have when it comes to believing in myself, I can also have that extremeness when it comes to not believing in myself too. So it's like,
right. Okay.
I know how to basically build momentum with believing in myself, but I also catch momentum with not believing in myself too. And it can do the opposite effect. So anyway, long story short, the resistance didn't start until things essentially started happening that would challenge my beliefs, where maybe somebody like didn't understand something I made. Like, what? I don't get it. It's like, what do you mean you don't get it? Like, it's hilarious. It's fucking perfect. What do you mean you don't get it? And it's like, oh no, instead of like, pushing that aside and being like, I believe in myself, I do consider other perspectives all the time. And I'm like, maybe it doesn't make sense. And I think that's a strength of mine too, where it's like, I'm not going to be somebody that's naive to like, hey, maybe this doesn't make sense. Like, I will consider that. And I want to be someone that's secure enough to be like, no, this is good. This makes sense. But I want to believe that in a logical way, in a truthful way, not a push, you know what I mean? Like push aside any possible, just pushing aside negativity all the time can make someone very naive. So it was very hard to fight things. As I started getting more popular on YouTube, more and more fear thoughts came in, and like my beliefs in myself started, crazy enough, even though the numbers were going up, my belief in myself was going down. Wow. And that's something I think new artists, definitely people that want to make it on YouTube or whatever, I would expect that to happen, because I never thought in a million years that that would happen, because it makes no logical sense. It's like, if the numbers are going up, you would think your confidence would go up. But what actually ended up happening to me, and I don't know if this has happened to you, is you become a little bit more, you start becoming scared, because what's happening is, if you think about it as like a metaphor of like you're climbing a mountain and you're like, I can't wait to climb this mountain, up, and let's go. And you start climbing and you're like, I'm killing it, I'm amazing. But then you get to a point where you're like in the middle of climbing this mountain and you look down and you're like, holy shit, like I could fall right now.
Right.
And you can't have that thought of I could fall right now and get really hurt unless you're high enough. You know what I mean? If you're not high enough, you could be like, I could fall right now, but it won't hurt. So who cares? And then you keep going. And then it's like, you get to a point where you're like, it could really fucking hurt if I fall right now. And that's where it starts. And that's where your momentum of your beliefs going on a downfall start.
Wow.
If that makes any sense.
You know what? The metaphor is so profound and beautiful about going up the mountain. Funny enough, I've been reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche, over the course of the last year, because it's just the poetry of the book. It's not right to even think about it as philosophy, because it's more like prose poetry. How he's sublimating the world and taking in. He's talking about abysses and voids and how we.
What is it called? I'm sorry. What is it called?
It's called Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche, and so this metaphor hit me so hard, and like, just because my mind is just in the sort of visualization of that book, and especially he's just so often using this abyss metaphor of the abyss and the void, and he eventually actually he lost his mind eventually, and the strange thing is the thing is that it happened. Crazy thing is that he saw a horse being whipped. And he went over and he grabbed this horse and he was protecting it for dear life. And I was always like, well, if you're ever going to go insane, that is a reason to go insane in the protection of another sentient creature. But going back to this resistance thing, because it's so interesting, this thing about going, the higher you go, especially at the start, getting this sense of vertigo. And as soon as you start thinking about the fall, the danger starts. So did that manifest, that resistance? Did it manifest ever in writer's block? The reason I ask it is because it's like you're going up, and this must be a very strange experience when you have so many eyes on your work and you have to start thinking, okay, in the process of writing, you have an audience that is watching you. And that's very different to when you're in the underground and you're just following your instincts. So was the resistance ever about a block at any stage, or was it just a resistance to the process?
When you say a block, can you give me an example?
What I mean is, like, did these fears ever stop you in front of your computer or from finding a story to actually being able to go through your creative process? Because you obviously have this very on fire creative process going on, and you see stories around you and you know how to interpret it. I'm just wondering if at any stage when you were feeling this resistance, when you had all the eyes coming onto you with all these people watching you, did you ever experience writer's block? Did you ever go, oh, I just don't know if I can do it?
Oh my God, of course.
Oh, you did?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, any kind of like block, like resist. Okay, actually, Jim, I actually had resistance so bad that I took an entire year off of posting. Like,
was this the 7 months you took after your ADHD?
Yeah, I said it was 7. It was more than 7 months at the time. I think it was more than 7 months.
Oh,
It was like at least maybe almost a year. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. I interrupted. I'm just so fascinated because, you put out this film on YouTube, and I absolutely, it just reached me to my core, like with the honesty and with what you were talking about and about, because I just think this with mental health is, people say that it's much more out there and more transparent, but when someone really speaks about it in the moment, about what they're really going through, you feel it in a whole different way. And it's like, sometimes, I don't know, sort of how to say it. It's just, it just felt like a very important video from someone in such a position. Now, the question I had a lot, and I have a lot to ask you about this time in your life. So one of the things that interests me is, so you were diagnosed with ADHD just before you took the break, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. It was. So yeah, I went to go get like tested for ADHD there was just, I swear, it's like only a few years ago, I guess, like with TikTok and stuff, like I feel like mental health became so much more open than it used to be. Like, and I didn't even know like really about ADHD. Not that I like want to label myself and put myself in a box of like, I have ADHD. I don't know what the fuck I have. I don't know what the fuck my brain is.
But I think that's
I don't know if I have, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's I think that's very healthy to also to have in mind to challenge a diagnosis, because a diagnosis can be inherently static and a label is not always helpful.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing with me is with diagnoses and stuff like that. Like, I think what's helpful, I think for me, the perspective is helpful is like, I am Lauren, like this is my brain is what it is. And it's like learning about ADHD, learning about OCD, learning about mental health things and disorders and all that helps me figure out more of what I am and more of what my brain is. And I can pick like, basically it's just a way for me to understand myself more. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean like I am ADHD is not accurate to me. I have a lot of qualities of an ADHD person, but like it's you can't just put yourself in a box, because especially with ADHD, it's different. It's so different for everybody. Like for a quick example, like there's types of ADHD where people just drift off when they're having a conversation. They get like bored of the conversation and they start daydreaming. Like I am nothing like that. I'm so intrigued by conversation.
You're very present.
I can intently listen to people like and really deeply like want to understand. So like when it comes to ADHD, there's so many different things about it that I just take certain things that relate to me, and it just helps me feel, honestly, just not, first of all, not alone, not crazy, not stupid. Like it just helps me understand myself. So it's like, technically I did like go get, diagnosed. I went to go see if I have ADHD. I took like a 3-day long like test, like a very involved test. And then I do have it, they said, which is helped validate me in a lot of ways, because it's like, oh, my brain is just not like that brain. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just, this is like, there's people that have certain types of brains, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I loved how you express yourself in the video, and you were talking about sort of people that just know the type of car that they have and they just get to drive it. And then you put these brilliant pictures of these absolutely wacky cars and you're like, what the fuck is this? What is this brain? I mean, how can I learn how to drive it? And then you were like, well, I'm going to take time off to learn how to drive my car. And I just, what I loved about this was this powerful self-recognition and capacity to say, I am going to take the time that I need at a point in my career when everything's saying, and the whole modern way is going push, like build your business and all this stuff. And I find it so powerful that you chose to go in the opposite direction of what all the damn motivational videos and self-help gurus and, all of this stuff, because it's all linked to ambition and doing being everything. But it's like, if you don't know the condition of your doing, if you don't know why you are doing what you're doing, or what you're doing is driving you to the edge, then you've got to take a look. And I don't know why. I mean, I look at Kurt Cobain, and who was so influential to me sort of growing up as a songwriter, as a man. And I'm just like, now I'm in my 40s and I just look at this kid and I'm like, how could he get to this point when that loneliness and that pain drove him to that terrible point? And the thing is,
I think the same thing. Yeah.
And the thing is and that's why I think that you're a tremendous example, Lauren, because like you did it because it felt right to do. But there's just a huge metaphor about this, I think, in society, about this illusion we have, the ambition and doing and the kind of frenzy and the mania. And don't get me wrong, I've got no problem with motivation and being focused and all of that stuff. That's all great stuff. But it's like, there's this thing that Joseph Campbell talked about. And he was like, look, so many people go and they take a ladder and they place it next to the first wall that they see, and they spend their life climbing this ladder, and they get to the top of the ladder, and then they realize they placed that ladder wrong next to the wrong damn wall. And
it's so good. I love that.
Well, isn't it? And the thing is that it's like, you obviously know your fire and you have this intrinsic sense of what it is you're doing, but that doesn't mean that you should and must be bound to it in every second of your life for the rest of your life. Because it's like, well, what about Lauren? What about the car? So what did you learn in that year? What was your experience?
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Wow. Okay. Well, this is kind of where it really started. I have to kind of add this in, because kind of where it really started was just always kind of, sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. I'm trying not to overcomplicate this, but that's kind of my specialty.
Literally go with it. Like, just what was it? So let me ask you a question to like, when you first thought, like, did you think, I have to do this? Or like, was it because I know sometimes I've sometimes had to get to a very bad point before I'm willing to stop and look after myself. So what triggered it? Like, what did you get to a threshold where you're like, I have to do this?
So basically what led to the trigger of like realizing I have to take a step back of everything and just understand myself, like understand what the fuck I really need in my life, is feeling like getting to the point where I feel like I'm being fucking fooled. Like I can't, so I'll try to explain it. What I've learned, I'm at a point in my life where now I've learned like what I really desire in life and what I really want at the end of the day. And I used to think, so surface level, not really understanding myself deeply. I used to think like, I just want my own cartoon show. I want to be a director, and like, I want to, inspire the world with my cartoons. And that is so fucking surface level to who I really am. That's just part of me. That's part of something I want. But the truth is, what I really am is someone that's like just really passionate about love and the truth. And whatever the fuck that means for you, whatever the fuck that means for me. For me, I just want to not be fooled. Like, I just don't want to be a puppet to like, I mean, this is getting really deep, but I don't want to be I don't want to be I don't want to be a puppet to society, or just like a puppet to, I don't want to be someone I'm not truly. I just want to know who the fuck my soul really is, and I want to be her, or I want to be that soul. And I realized, like, I kind of came to a point where I'm like, I think I've been fooled for a very long time that like I want a bunch of things that I don't actually want. So just to try and make that make sense for a second. What was kind of happening is I always pulled this shit on myself where it's like, I'll be truly happy when, and that just kept happening for me. I'll be truly happy when I move out of my parents' house and I'm on my own or whatever. Okay, that happened. Okay, I'm still not happy. Okay, I'll be happy when, I fall in love one day. Okay, that happened. Madly in love, still not happy. Okay, I'll be happy when, and then, I'll be happy because I used to live in California for college, right? For art school. I'll be happy when I'm finally home with my family and my boyfriend and my friends. Like, I just need to get out of California. Okay, still not happy. Like, and it's like, even before that, I'll be happy when I move to California. I'll be happy when I start an internship. Once I'm working at Nickelodeon, so I have had an internship there, then I'll be happy. So like, it just kept going and going and going. And I just kind of was just blindly, I was just like, like climbing this thing where I was trying to get to the happiness. It was like running on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
It was like running on a treadmill to try and get the like carrot at the end of the stick, but you don't realize you're on a fucking treadmill. You're never going to get that carrot. Yeah. And I was like, if I could just, you know, it got to the point where I'm like, okay, now I know for fucking sure, if I become a YouTuber and I have an audience, all I need is an audience, then I'll fucking, nothing will ever not make me happy again. How could I possibly be unhappy if I have a fucking audience? Like, that would, it's impossible. And I'm still fooled by that. Like, I still thinking about it now. Like, if I went back, I'd get fooled by that again, because it's so hard to believe that you can't be happy if you have an audience that watches your shit and loves you and shit. It's like, you know, of course that'll make me happy. And here's what I learned. It's like, you know, then I got the audience and I was more miserable than I've ever been in my fucking life. Like, and then we lived at my now husband, we lived at his dad's house because we weren't ready to move out yet. It's like, I just wanted to move out. I'm like, once I have my own place with my own refrigerator, like, then I'll like, I'll shed some weight. I'll be able to lose weight once I'm on my own. You know, like, it's all this bullshit. And so we move out on our own. It's like, oh, we're going to finally be so much happier now. I ended up gaining the most weight I've ever gained in my life living at home. You know, I lost, you know, most of it now, but I went up to like 200 pounds and I was the most miserable I've ever been. So I realized, holy shit, like, I finally stopped and I looked back at all these patterns of this lie that I've been telling myself, that like, I'll finally be happy when, and then that's where it happened, where I'm like, I felt like a fucking idiot. I'm like, this is a fucking lie that's keeping me on a treadmill and making me not get to where I really need to be. And the place I really need to be is what will really make me fucking happy. Not this materialistic bullshit. Like, so that's when I stopped and I'm like, fuck YouTube. Fuck everyone, fuck everything. I need to figure out what's like really how to actually get this carrot. Cause I'm done fucking lying to myself to get this carrot. And I realized, long story short, like, all of those things did make me happy, but it's not about, like, happiness is just like this thing that like comes and goes. It's like the state that I was looking for a state, and I was looking for a state of content, like acceptance, like peace, like just love. And like, I just wanted fucking peace, inner peace. That's all I wanted this whole time. I just wanted inner peace, and I wanted to know how to get inner peace. And like, it's, I don't want to like overcomplicate it, but basically I learned, like, I wanted the thing I wanted this whole time was to stop hating myself. That's what I wanted. Like, nothing was going to stop me from hating myself except me, you know, going on this kind of journey to say, Lauren, it's not about the audience. It's not about the house. Like, I'm looking at you, girl. Like, I'm just looking at you, and I just want to fucking nurture your ass, like, for as long as it takes. And I want to love the shit out of you until you feel safe in your own skin. So it's just like, I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to like understand that, maybe, because I feel like when you're first starting out as an art, like, you know, you don't think about this shit. Like, all you're thinking about is, I don't give a fuck about anything except, like, I want an audience. I want to grow my craft. And that's great. But you're going to get to a point where you might get to a point, if you're not healthy in the head like I was, where you're still not fucking happy, even though you have everything. And this happens to like almost all celebrities. Like, they have the world, you know what I mean? They have everything they could ever want, and they're still not happy because I believe it has something to do with, they don't know how to love themselves properly. And they believe a lot of fucking lies, a lot of fucking bullshit lies. And anyway, that's where I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, Lauren, like my reflection, it thoroughly answers my question, and profoundly so. And my reflection on it is that perhaps that thing that you think that other people will not get is exactly the thing that they are also looking for or intuiting in you, and that they most need. And I mean, I think artistic journey is not the thing in itself. It's what precedes the artistic journey. And you are, it seems to me, in an absolutely critical moment of your maturing. And I mean, maturing is in okay, on the one hand, you could say, you know, into adulthood. I consider that like a lifelong journey, but I'm talking about that process of being we can kind of grow up in public, and as artists we do, because we start young. And so often, I mean, it's that sort of like mythical story that there's, you know, you can think of the Lord of the Rings, that time when Aragorn the Ranger decides to go into the caves, and he goes in there, and it's through that process of cutting off from the world, in that sort of like hero mythology, if you like, but it's when he's cutting off that he has that sort of confrontation with, you know, the greatest demon, which is always the reflection of what it is that you find inside yourself. But through that, finds the knowledge that Joseph Campbell talks about that elixir, that thing that you kind of go off into the woods for, and that you cannot find unless you're willing to give something up. And it, you know, and
yes.
and you know, so for me, there's something like so sort of archetypal about this period in your life, because, you know, on the one hand, when I look at your work, like from before and during, it feels like this sense of Laurenness is always walking before you. That sense of there's a huge humanity in your work. There's always a message in it. And like, even if it's like when you're giving your dad the gift, and it's like, and it's this reality, and it's the way that your dad is, and it's the tenderness, and it's like, you just, this sense of within a family relationship of there's so many dimensions in there. So there's so much that you're offering, but it feels like to me that you're getting to grips with this next new, deeper version. Deep, I don't even like the word, but it's like literally like you've gone into the dark and that you're now bringing something back. And it's like you called it love and truth, which I think is as good a sort of umbrella or wrapping paper as you like. And then the challenge kind of becomes, I think, I mean, you could tell me if you think I'm speaking nonsense, but the challenge becomes, as you bring that back, okay, how do I package that? And like, it really interested me that you were like, well, I don't think anyone's going to get this. They know me as, you know, Lauren, and the humor and the buzz and the frenzy and all of the, you know, all the gifts of in your work that makes life better for people. And then you're bringing in this whole other element, which is what kind of like really struck me with the video that you did on the vlog channel with the diagnosis. So for me, I don't know, I feel like it's when you meet someone in this moment of profound change and working out what it is, it's like, oh, it's really exciting and humbling, because you maybe don't know quite what it is. I don't know quite what it is, but sometimes within a conversation, one gets a bit closer to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just feels like this like where you are at the moment feels like a really exciting like moment. Dude, how does that resonate? Do you feel that? Do you feel like you're in a moment of like change and transition now that you've come back from, let's call it, the wild?
Oh my God, I would definitely call it the fucking wild. It was it was nuts. It was nuts. The spiritual like journey I went on.
Can you give me some colors? Can you give me a sense of it? Like of like, is it, because it's hard to put into words sometimes.
It's so impossible to put into words for me, but like, I would just say like, when I say spiritual, like I'm not talking about like religions or anything, like I'm just talking about this fucking journey of trusting yourself. That's really what I did. I went on a journey of trusting myself or learning how to trust myself, and following myself almost. Like, it's hard to explain, like, just following something, like following love. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but I just felt like I was following something. And it was like something was leading me, and I just don't know how to explain it. But I was ready to let go of I was ready to surrender something. And I think that's when shit gets real.
Wow.
In a person's life, when you're ready to surrender something, you're kind of letting go of control, and you're giving trust to something else that you can't even prove exists. It's just this feeling of like, I need help. I'm letting go of control, and I'm going to fucking just like let something take over. I can't do this alone anymore. And it's when you get to that state, it's the best fucking feeling. And it'll give you like this spiritual high. Like, genuinely, I've gotten like a high just from like accepting that, like, it's so hard to explain, but like accepting that I just don't have any control. Like, just letting go of all control. I know, it's the best.
Seriously. Yeah.
It's the best. And it's so hard. It's probably one of the hardest things for a human being in the world to do, because we are literally designed to want to control for survival. And when you let go of like essentially kind of giving, like, you stop caring about survival. Like, I don't know how to explain it. That sounds kind of, I don't want to like give people the wrong idea. It's like, you just kind of, you stop caring about how am I going to survive? And you stop allowing yourself to figure out the how, and you start trusting that it's going to be given to you. You just surrender the how. That's when shit gets the fuck real in life. Like, and it's really deep. It's really deep. And there's probably so many people that think I'm fucking crazy right now. But that's when shit got real. And something I want to say before I forget is the honestly, so far I've learned, like, I do feel like I'm out of the, like you said, like the wild now. I feel like I'm finally walking the path of the person I've always really wanted to be. Like I have the carrot, like the carrot's in my fucking pot. I have the carrot, and that doesn't mean I'm happy every day. Like the carrot was it's just a thing that makes me feel safe. And that's what I've been like dying for. I just want to feel safe. And the only thing that's going to make you feel safe is not the money. It's not the subscribers. It's nothing except the only thing that'll make you feel safe is the way you treat yourself, I realized, and the way you look at yourself. And it has to be with love. So literally love and trust in what you can't control makes you feel safe. So really quick, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I learned was, I realized the reason I could never get that carrot is I judged myself in everything. I was constantly judging myself. And when you stop judging yourself and you love yourself instead, you give yourself compassion, you give yourself, like the benefit of the doubt, like you trust yourself that you're a good person. Like, it's essentially like, I look at myself now as like how I would want to treat a child. I realized, like, I've been neglecting my inner child, I guess you want to call it. Like, I've been neglecting her. I've been saying, like, you're not good enough, Lauren. Like, you're not good enough. An audience would be good enough. You're not good enough, Lauren. A new house would be good enough. Now it'll be good enough with a new house. You're not good enough. It would be better with this. I'll be happy when I have this. I'll be happy when I have that. What I really needed to fucking hear was, it doesn't matter where we are or what situation we're in. It's always going to be good enough as long as I have me. And like, it's like you have to have this relationship with yourself that, like, no matter what happens, you just have this unconditional love for who you are. And it's so fucking deep. I can't even get into it because it's like hard to explain.
No, it's so beautiful, and how you talk about it. Something that was that I found so lovely is you were like, and I got the carrot, and I was calling it the elixir, and it's like, it doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it the elixir, you can call it the carrot. And what I love is that you went off and you were talking about this aspect of survival. And I find that really interesting because, like you were saying, it's like this sense that we're programmed to survive, to survive ice ages, to survive the dinosaurs, when we're much smaller type of animal. But, it's deeply, to get out the ocean because some type of predators in there or whatever. And it's like this human kind of ambition is a rugged, desperate, going forward to try and deal with life. And what I loved about the metaphor that you were using as you went out was about this sense of surrender, and that point at which you let go of control. And I find it so exciting in your journey, getting to that point and accepting in all this, all this new knowledge and this new type of foundation. And, like you say, I understand that it's not just something you tick off and everything's, hunky-dory and everything's fine, but it's a big step in your sort of journey, evolutionary or however you want to call it, in that kind of, okay, getting from that survival physical thing into that spirit soul stuff, and then working out it's about truth and love. And then I think one of the interesting things is it's then how does the circle start completing it yourself, because what it is that you find then becomes not yours to have, but something that is about the flow through you, if you know what I mean. So it just, like, talking to you at this point, and I'm subscribed on your YouTube channel. I'm really interested to see how it manifests in your work with what goes forward, because I feel like you just feel like a human being in an amazing moment of realization, and not in a fixed place, but having gone through something that is like very present in you. And it's a nice moment to meet you.
No, definitely. I'm still, like, I don't want people to think like, oh, like, and now it's a happy ending, the end. Like,
not at all.
I still have so much resistance. I still struggle. I still doubt myself. I still judge myself. Like, these things don't go away.
Yeah.
It's not like now that I have the carrot, like, happy ending, I'm always happy now. Like, hell no.
I think what people would take away is that you're at a point where you're able to examine the state of those things differently. And, there's nothing there is nothing that you've said that is this sort of, wacko, I've just arrived and it's all good and I've got something to teach. For me, you feel like you're just really transparent with human striving and struggle, and about this point in your journey, and being very brave about it. And I think you underestimate perhaps how much that helps other people and what a guide that can be. And I mean, look, I know that you've got a schedule for the rest of the day. Is it possible to throw out a few random questions at you in the last 10 minutes we've got?
Yeah, and let me know, like,
cool?
I mean, let me know how you want to structure, like,
no, cool.
I'll do anything or anything like that. Like,
no,
whatever you want to do, I'm down.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, let's just chuck out some questions and just see where we go with it. So one of the things the things that I really found so wonderful about your work. So I'm a big fan of Robert Rodriguez and his attitude with being DIY, and I love the fact that you just so there's this quotation, and he says. He says, I made movies that I would want to see. I didn't wait for anyone else to give me permission. I just went out and did it myself. That's the spirit of a true do-it-yourself filmmaker. And something that I just get this sense of in your work and your journey is this sense of, like, you will not be stopped by the sort of vagaries of the world. And you've just got this DIY attitude to get on and go with it. So I'm just, if you just, do you have, because, you've gone out on your own. So what was your relationship with the industry at the point of saying, I'm going to go and do it my way? Because it's so maverick.
What was my relationship with the industry?
Was there a rejection of the more classical path? Like, or was there any troubled relationship with the industry itself? Or was it just a positive thing of, no, I just want to do it myself and I'm going to go this way? Like, what was the yay? What was the nay?
What are you talking about? Like specifically a specific time, or just like in general?
When you set out on the YouTube journey.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so like what exactly the experience of that whole thing? I guess.
I think, like, was there a sense of rejecting the more traditional pathway to do that?
I see.
Or was it just, no, the digital technology's there and I can go for it and that's cool? What was your state of mind then?
That's a good point. Honestly, like, that's a really good question. So, like, my dream is to be a director in cartoons. Like, I have this specific show called Kate and Kit. I launched it on Shorts on YouTube. It's doing awesome. I'm really excited about it. But since I was in 4th grade, I had this dream. I made up Kate and Kit. Like, something told me, like, this is your dream, like Kate and Kit making it a show on Nickelodeon, go. And I'm like, okay, I just fucking connected with that dream. And like, I just kind of like obsessed over it. Like, I'm like, I'm going to get my fucking ass to Nickelodeon somehow. I don't care how, but I'm going to get there. And that's all. I just knew like, that's where I was supposed to do with my life. Like I need to make Kate and Kit and I need to get it on Nickelodeon. It's the most specific like thing ever. It's like nobody, it's so specific. It's not vague. It's not broad. It's not like I want to be a storyboard artist for like, no, like I want to create Kate and Kit and put it on Nickelodeon. And that was my fucking dream. So my point is like, I would have done anything I needed to do to get there, to get that dream. And, like I'm still in the process of like, I'm still in the process of, to answer your question, I guess, I follow what I believe I'm, capable of. So I could have gone the traditional way, right? I could have to be your own creator on Nickelodeon. Like I could have followed other people's paths that have been creators on Nickelodeon. Like go to art school, become a storyboard artist, like move your way up in
that was my intrigue.
I would have done that. Like the problem is like, I'm not fucking made for some reason to do that. Like there's just something in me that resists and rejects that way. And I don't know why. So I'm like, it's almost like I don't have I can't explain it. It feels like I don't have a choice. It's like, it's like Lauren is this person and I need to like listen to her. And it's like, okay, like she's not going to let me fucking do it that way. So I got to figure out a way like Lauren will let me do this. And I can't explain it. It's like, I just followed my instincts on how to get there. And I don't know how to explain it. Like I would have been fine. I would have been fine going the traditional way, but something wouldn't let me. And it's just this, sorry, there's a fucking gnat in my office. Something wouldn't let me like do it. And maybe it's my brain. Like, I think maybe I'm not, there's just something in my brain that I struggle with like following certain rules. I don't know. I struggle with like, if I don't like something, like doing it a certain way, I won't do it. It's just, I don't know if it's not even pride though. Yeah. It's like, I can't explain what it is. Sorry, this is hard to explain. It's not pride. It's like, I accept that I'm a certain way.
Yeah.
And I just follow the way I am. So it's like, I knew I needed to get a job in an animation studio to understand animation. But my brain was like, I'm not fucking learning how to draw like to the point of being good enough to be an artist, because I'd rather fucking jump off a fucking cliff than do that. Like, I just I don't care about learning how to like draw well. Like, it's just not something I can force myself to care about. So it's like, okay, Lauren doesn't care about learning how to draw really, really well. She just wants to be able to draw to get a visual across in terms of directing and like visual storytelling. Like she would rather have artists be hired to draw for her after giving them a visual, like sketchy thing.
Like and Rembrandt.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Not
That's
at all.
The thing. And so I used to judge myself and be like, you fucking failure. Like, just sit down and learn how to draw so you can become a creator. Like, and something won't let me is like, no, I don't want to fucking learn how to draw like that well. Sorry. And it's like, all right, fine. Like, I can only do what I want to do. Like all of us, like, I believe all of us as human beings can only do what we want to do. Like, we could do anything we want, but it's only if we want to.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to draw, like I didn't want to become someone that learned how to draw really, really, really well. It was just too boring for me. So I'm like, I got to get into an animation studio somehow. So I was like, what about production? And I was like, I like production. I'll do that. So essentially my point is it led me to YouTube. Like being who I am led me to YouTube. And it led me to this path. And I think I'm following a path that is who I am instead of following a path that is already made for me that I like could learn. Like, I know there's other paths there, but I went on a path that I felt that I believed I was capable of instead. So I don't know if that answers your question, but like
very much so.
There's nothing wrong with going on a path that's like there for you already. There's nothing wrong with that. I just can't do it. Like I would have trust me, I would have done that.
But what I think is well, I think what's so interesting for like if you're an artist starting out, whether it's a cartoonist or an illustrator or a musician or whatever, the key takeaway that I take from that is listen to yourself, listen to what it is that your instincts are telling you, and I see it manifested in your work because, well, you can draw brilliantly and you can animate brilliantly. The things that makes you stand apart is that you have such a ear for humor and for story and for vulnerability.
Oh, thank you.
And well, as far as I see it, and the thing is, it's that combination of those things that makes for, as far as I see it, a special artist. And it's interesting as well what you said about, you know, having the directorial role, because it sounds like somewhere where you know that you will gravitate towards. And it's interesting because that's also got time-honored traditions. I mean, Rembrandt used to have a whole studio and everyone would just be painting, you know, he'd give them the drafts and the point at which they needed to get to, and they would paint them up to a certain point. And then he would go in as the master and he would bring them through to fruition. And
I love that. That's how I want to be exactly like, that's what I'm doing now with my videos. And it's a fucking dream. Like I'm delegating the stuff I'm not good at. Instead of forcing, I can't force myself to fucking do anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. I won't force myself to become this great artist, but I will delegate it. And I will do the stuff I am good at.
But that's also it's a very interesting thing because, funny enough, I'm in exactly the same thing because at this point in time, the juggle of my commitments is so ridiculous between music, the podcast, my freelance life as a filmmaker and photographer, and I've a Substack that I do twice a week, and it's just become, you know, and then of course, you know, that's before you think of friends and family and the rest of it, and it's just got to that point where it's like, I have to start thinking more with a sort of entrepreneurial mindset, which is the word that you used earlier. And so the weird thing is, Lauren, is that for the first time, I've actually been outsourcing not prime creative stuff, but certain things that, like, for instance, I wouldn't have someone else to come and do the podcast, but I can get someone to do the edit and review it and then get the cutaways from it. You know, that's stuff that I just don't need to be, you know, and so it's so funny that you say that because I'm just getting to that point myself.
So am I. Weird. And I think and as I'm working this way, I'm learning how, like, I'm slowly letting things go. Like,
lovely.
I'm
that's
slowly
the
letting things go. Yeah. And it's so fucking hard to surrender stuff when it comes to creativity for me.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute dream. It's an absolute dream to delegate things. Yeah.
Well, look, I promised you I wasn't going to keep you over time, but if it's cool, I'll just ask you 2 more questions. I'm desperate to ask you.
Go ahead.
So one of them was, and this is another thing I loved in one of your videos, it was talking about, like, you were like, legit, I feel like a failure. Like, you know, and then I really understood it when we were having this talk, you know, during this talk, because you were like, well, I can feel like the most powerful, focused and ready and on it being in the world, but I suffer from the opposite of it. So I just wanted to ask you, I was like, wow, what an amazing insight that an artist of this stature with that level of following and interest and love in their work and all, you know, that exterior validation of the source that you have. What would you say to a younger artist, or let's say to younger Lauren? Like, imagine it's you. What would you say with an artist who hasn't broken through yet and is struggling with an internal sense of failure? What would be your message to that person if you were, let's say, imagining it was yourself 5 years ago?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I would probably say something along the lines of, I think that their perspective is not, all right, how would I say this? I would say it seems like they're doing it for the wrong reasons. I feel like if you feel like a failure because you're not getting an audience, that's totally normal and valid. And like, that's completely understandable. And that's like inevitable. Like, you're going to feel, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling like a failure because you're not getting an audience, you obviously want an audience for the wrong reasons. Like, if you're not doing this because you fucking love it, and I know this is so annoying, everybody says this, but if this is the truth, and like, I know if I said this to myself like 5 years ago, I'd probably give myself the middle finger and like tell myself to shut the fuck up. But if you are genuinely not doing this because you fucking love it and it sets your soul on fire, and if you're not doing this for yourself, you're on a bad path. And you're lucky you don't have a fucking audience, because it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And that is like, it has to come from a place of like, I'm not doing this for anyone but me. Right. If you don't start at that place, obviously everybody wants, like, you know, an audience, like they want to share their work. It's like, you gotta just make shit because you love it, and that's self-love. Like, if you're doing it for other people, if you're doing it for an audience, if you're doing it for money, like, you gotta go back to when you were, honestly, like when you were a kid, and you have to go back to when you were a kid and when you did things because it made you feel good. And you shouldn't be doing things unless it makes you feel good. And if you're doing things, if you're forcing yourself to do something and it doesn't make you feel good, like, be very careful of that. That's all I'm saying. Be very careful of that. Because it's like, I guess, like, you know, like, it's understandable, like I said, to be discouraged that like things aren't working out or whatever, but you have to go back to that perspective of like, why did you start I mean, this is advice I need to like retake all the time, because I forget too. It's like, why did you start doing this in the first place? Like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck are you? Why are you doing this? It's like, you have to just, everything has to revolve around loving yourself. Because I realized like, it's, once you realize how to love yourself, like, everything falls into place. Like, you're going to get an audience eventually. Like, as long as you keep doing things that set your soul on fire, like wherever you end up going, that's gonna lead you somewhere where you're gonna get whatever the fuck you really want. Maybe you don't really want an audience and you think you do, you know. You never know like what you really want until you know. But if all you're concerned about is like getting an audience and you're not concerned about how you feel, I don't know. Maybe that's not the best advice, or how I worded it poorly, maybe. But
so I would try and summarize what you said as self-love, perseverance, and thinking, what is it that I would be doing every day? Would I be doing this every day, whether I'm paid for it or not?
Exactly. Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, please. That was exactly what I wanted to say, and I couldn't figure out how to say it.
No.
Would I be doing this? Exactly. Would I be doing this with or without the audience?
I was literally following like the trail of thoughts, because it was so like how you're working it out. It's just, it's all in there, and it's like, it's very easy to say it like a list, but it doesn't mean anything if it's a list if there's not the thought process behind it. So
right, yeah. I'm good at the thought process, and I just love it when people could take my fucking like blabbing and put it into a fucking sentence. That's my favorite thing ever.
Okay, look, I'm gonna try and dig out one of my last questions, and then I promise I'll let you go.
Sure, we can go for another two if you want.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
As long as I am out the door in 30 minutes,
cool,
that's fine.
Cool.
We have time.
So, amazing. So I just love, like, could you just walk us through your creative process from like idea and story to storyboard to creating it? Like how do you create Elle cartoons? Like right from the first inception, and obviously I'm sure that could go on for, several hours, but just to give us a sense, because the reason I ask it is that I just feel like it all comes from this spark in reality. And I'm really interested about, there was a Jim Davis, the Garfield creator. He said, ideas are everywhere. The hard part is to pick out the good ones. And so my question is really, how do you pick out the good ones, and what happens then?
Oh my God, that's such a good quote. Yeah, I'm like an ideas like machine. But yeah, it's very hard for me to actually write a script and record it and like finalize it, because I don't want to follow like the rules, like in terms of like, first I write the script, then I do this. So I do things like out of order a lot, but my goal is to create a feeling. Something I learned, something really, really, I think one of the best pieces of advice that I learned throughout my journey is people don't give a shit like necessarily what it looks like. They just want to feel something. They want to feel something. So people aren't scrolling on Instagram to necessarily see the best camera angle of like, like a lot of people get caught up in the perfectionism of like the visual details, like, oh, this isn't in perspective right, or like, oh, like the sun is shining too bright on this part. People get a lot like very caught up in the details a lot of the time. What people are looking for is a feeling. They want to feel something. And that is why the most simplest of things get so popular sometimes. And a lot of people are like, that's so fucking annoying. I could have done that. And it's like, people just want to feel something. They want to fucking feel. So like to inspire me, I kind of collect feelings. Like, so people just want to like, I feel like people just want to like feel connected and not feel alone and feel validated and feel loved and like feel safe. And so basically what I do to make a video is like, my first priority is I first and foremost think of not the title, like not what it's about. Like I first and foremost think about a few like instances in my story that will make people fucking feel something. So, for example, like this video I'm working on for Elle Cartoons now that's going to come out like early July. It's called, what is it called? It's called Dumb Stuff I Did Because of Guilt. So it's like about, you know, feeling guilty. And there's a, you know, I talk about how like little kid me, like, you know, I guess like, what's an example? There's a part in the video where like I carry around this blanket and like I was feeding the ant houses outside of my house as a kid. And I was like putting little crumbs of like, you know, goldfish snack on the ant houses because I was like, oh, these ants work so hard to get their food. Like I want to help them. And then basically like I take my blanket and as I'm feeding them, and I didn't realize my blanket was like destroying all of the ant hills. And I realized I turned around to see like my masterpiece of all of these ants being fed. And then like I see it's a fucking mess and I just like killed everything. So like one of the things that inspired me to make that, like to tell that story about my life, you know, like I obviously like exaggerated the shit out of it. Like in real life, I remember I screwed up like one or two ant houses, but in the story on YouTube, I exaggerate it to make it entertaining. But regardless, what inspired me to tell that story is I wanted to give a feeling of complete regret. And like, I was like, how would I draw Elle if she was like in complete regret? And I just kind of get my pen out and I draw a face and I'm like, oh. And it's like, it's not a good drawing. It's not about the drawing. It's about what feeling am I trying to display, exactly evoke out of somebody. I want them to feel regret. And I want to put them on this roller coaster of like, oh, that's the worst feeling. And they feel connected to, they feel like I'm not alone. I'm not the only fucking person that's felt that. Like they feel like I'm loved, I'm safe. But just by feeling regret in that moment of the video. So it's like, I basically, that's kind of my first step is to think of big feelings that I can display. And that's kind of what I'm good at. That's my specialty. I'm not a great fucking artist with, you know, I hire people to help me with this, just drawing, you know, the drawings of what Elle will look like when she's like, oh shit, you know, like, but in terms of what I want, I will direct it and explain it. And I'll get the people that are good at that shit to do their shit. You know, I just stick to what I'm just, you know, good at. So I start with like collecting the feelings I kind of want. And then I start making a story out of it from there, I guess.
It's so interesting how like that moment you described, because one of the things I love about your videos and about how the feeling resonates is that you'll have Elle with the reaction, you'll have what has just happened right there, and then you have the music coming in or out, and then you also like tempo feels very important in your cartoons because sometimes you're just jumping over the last moment. And then it means when you pause at a critical moment, you're just like, you really go into it. And so like, it's so interesting. Well, no, but it's just so interesting like hearing about the process because you're just talking about one instant and often the video is anything from like, you know, 6 to 10 to 15 minutes long. And it's just, that's where the love is. I mean, all of that love within the story in that one moment, and that's just one moment of this whole story. Man, I don't know how you do it.
Oh, thanks, dude. Man, I appreciate that a lot. Like it's like I feel like this too. It's like I have had moments where I've been like so hard on myself for not like, you know, forcing myself to be a better artist. And I do practice drawing just so but it's again, I'm just feeding the machine of like, I only want to practice drawing to the extent of being able to describe what I need from an actual artist that's good at it. You know what I mean? It's like I accept what I'm not good at, and I don't obsess over it. I obsess over the things I'm good at. I build on that. So it's like the stuff I'm good at, I will study that shit till the end. Like I want to get really, really good at the stuff I'm good at, because I can always delegate the stuff I'm bad at. And you know, I just want to build momentum in the stuff I'm good at. And what I'm good at is creating a feeling, creating a connection, creating vulnerability, making people want to root for the character, making people kind of want, like, you know, want to like understand a character by a facial expression. Like that's the kind of shit I'm good at. And I feel like if I wasn't good at that stuff, maybe I would be a better artist, because that's how my brain would be. But the way my brain is good at that shit, and I'm just gonna roll with it. You know?
Yeah. But it's also, all of that is contextualized by the they're very, very funny and that people laugh aloud. I mean, it's just, the thing is, I mean, maybe if you're just so obsessed with the drawing, like, I mean, how could you get to that point? Because actually what you're doing is such a symbiosis of humor and vulnerability and story and graphic and design and movement and music. I mean, it's like you are literally directing, like it's like a symphony in these animated cartoons.
It feels like that.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it feels like that.
Yeah. Because it has such a rhythm.
It feels like a song. Exactly. There's rhythm. You totally fucking get it.
Yeah. Well,
that's exactly it.
Well, look, it's like I laugh aloud a lot when I'm with people, but it takes quite a lot to make me laugh aloud, like when I'm on my own. I'm just one of those people. Like I'll laugh all day long with my friends, but if I'm in my flat on my own, I'll find something funny, but I won't laugh aloud. And I'm not saying this, and I'm not saying this to butter you up, but I laughed aloud while I was researching, like before our interview, like several times. I was like, and it made me just really excited to speak, because I was like, damn, that's such a gift. And I'm not saying that to butter you up, I promise.
Oh, dude, I really appreciate it. I don't know. I genuinely believe you for some reason, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful you said that, because I believe you, you know, and that boosts my confidence.
I'm a terrible con artist as well. I wouldn't believe anything I say. Yeah. So look, so getting to the end. So like, I wanted to ask you two things. Like, one thing that comes across really a lot in your work is how much you love your audience. Do you have a message for your audience? Maybe you could give them a little, you gave them already a sense of what's to come, but do you have a little message for them?
I would say if you're part of my audience and you listen to this whole thing, like, God bless you, because I know most of my audience is not into this like deep side of me. Like they probably just want a lot of my audience are young and they want to laugh at cartoons, understandably. So if you're an LRAT that's actually genuinely interested in this deep conversation, like you're low key one of my favorites. Don't tell the others.
Well, okay. Well, look,
a message about what exactly am I saying? I don't expect anyone to listen to this. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like so deep, but.
Okay, we can test. What
kind of a message, though?
This was beautiful. I think it's just your love comes across. So we can test your audience. If anyone gets to this point,
see. If anyone
gets to the point at the end of this YouTube video, drop a comment and give us your thoughts on the deep side of Elle cartoons.
Yeah. Say I'm LRAT and I listen to the whole thing, and I will love you forever. No, it means a lot to me. If anyone like genuinely like likes me enough to have listened to this whole thing, that would mean the world to me, because I do love, like, you know, it makes me feel like very loved that someone would care about this side of me, because it is not a side that I got popular for. You know, I got popular for my comedy side, and
of course, but then again, I mean, you know, that's the thing is you've like humor is a part of your vibe and your personality, even when you're going deep, you know, in your expression. And,
you're right.
You know, and on the vlogs, which are sometimes really hard hitting, you know, there's still 60,000 of the 500,000. So it's obviously hitting a note. So I think it's really exciting and brave that you're also expressing this other side of you and showing a different side of, you know, of who you are through it. And I'm like super grateful that I get to speak to you on that level.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
And
really.
I'm so glad I got to speak to you too. Like, you're super awesome. And I love how passionate and excited you are. Like, I love your energy
well,
so much.
it's a gift. It's a gift. And so, right, I'm going to annoy you with this last question, and you can say no. You can say no, and this will be a real challenge to the L rats who are like not into the deep stuff. But if you were to give a message, if you were to shut your eyes and just offer something at this point. Now, you don't have to do it. You can say, get out of here, mate. You're not getting that out of me.
No, I'll do it.
But if you were to shut your eyes and just give a message from where you're at the moment to someone out there, if it's an individual, suffering or having a hard day, or some of the things that you've been through, what would you have to say to them? And I'm going to shut my eyes and I'm going to just wait.
Okay. An individual that's having a hard day and they're listening to this.
Yeah, or to the world in general.
I would say life is a fucking roller coaster, and I would say that honestly, like, just fucking love yourself, please. Like, please love yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. And if you're going through something tough and you feel like, you don't have control over it and you don't know what to do, I would say, like, you really do deserve to be loved. And what I've learned is it's going to be okay. And I know people say that all the time, but like, it's because it's true. Things always, as a roller coaster does, when they're going super, super, super downhill and you're like, and you feel like you're going to like fucking die. Like, the roller coaster has to go back up. It has to slow down. It will slow down. And you will be okay. It just probably feels like right now the world is falling on you, and just do yourself a favor and I would just give you the advice of like, let go and speak to the universe and just say like, I need help, and just surrender yourself and be like, I need help. And if you can hear me, please show me the way to help me. And then just trust that that's going to happen. Trust that you're going to get the help. I promise you will. I promise you will. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It just believe that like you are so fucking loved and that you are going to be okay. You are going to be okay. And keep doing stuff for yourself that makes you feel good. Because that's what life the fuck is about. It's really just about just figure out how to feel good and do those things and say, go get some ice cream. I don't know. Life is fucking hard. I had the worst fucking day. Like 3 days ago, I wanted to fucking die. And today I'm like the happiest bitch on the planet. So I don't know. Life is crazy. Just love yourself and just trust that everything's going to be okay. Go get ice cream. I don't know. I'm bad at this shit.
Oh, dude. Honestly, that for me is who you are, that I feel teary while like fucking laughing from my belly.
I can't help it. I'm
you
so
can't help
bad.
You can't help it. You're, honestly,
I'm not good at it. I'm actually like not good at this
You're
shit.
so good at this. Honestly, like I was like, oh, I didn't realize you're speaking to me at the same time as making that offering. And I was like, oh, that sense of surrender. I was like, God, I need that at the moment. I need to remember that at the moment, right? Because it's never a fixed thing. Like, you need to keep relearning those things that you know along the way. And I was like, man, you just hit such a note.
You really do.
You just hit such a note. It's like, so thank you.
You do need to keep relearning it. It's so true. It's like, I mean, I'm 30. I'm gonna be 33 in 5 days. So I'm like, in my mid 30s right now, and it's like, I've gone like 30 fucking years with the same bad habits, the same bad patterns, the same bad thought processes. Only the last few years have I really been changing my thoughts, and like it's gonna take a lot longer than 3 years to change my neural pathways of like my thoughts going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just be patient with yourself. Like, just, I think a lot of the biggest reason why people have really, really hard days in general is because they're lacking hope. And so just, I know it sounds fucking stupid, but try to muster up the strength to find hope. Mm-hmm. Just find hope, whether it's like, well, like if it's, you know, fucking March, it's like, okay, I know in 2 months I'm going to be able to sit on the beach and put my feet in the sand, and I'm going to fucking breathe it in, and maybe I'll even get myself a little fruit bowl, and like, just think, like, give yourself hope. Like that is the best, like, actual logical advice I can give is like, give yourself hope, because hope will get you through. That's the only thing that's gotten me through anything is like creating hope for myself. I don't know.
And for others, Lauren, and for others. And I feel like I'm so excited about what comes next for you out of this exploration, because one of the things about you is you're too damn honest for exactly where you are in your life and your work, for it not to come out in your work. And I think you underestimate how many people are going to find resonance in where you're at in your journey and as it finds its way out. And maybe your challenge is to realize that stuff is really needed, and that and for it to be packaged with love and humor and that unique voice that you have. It's so exciting where it takes you. Thanks,
Jim. And I just love that I'm now friends with you, and you can help me, especially with your videos that you post. But like, yeah, like keep reminding me of that shit. I need all the help I can get to stay on a good path.
Oh man, well, you and me both. So we'll feed from one another. And if you could do me a favor and remember to not shut your browser so that we don't lose this wonderful conversation. Leave it open.
Okay, yes.
Lauren,
leave it open, yes.
It is my absolute pleasure. It is my privilege. Thank you for taking a punt on me and on this, because you go into your day and you've just thrown your fire on someone else's life. Man, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. Honestly, I had so much fun. I love having the opportunity to learn how to express myself, because I do ramble a lot, so it's a good opportunity for me. And it was just so fun talking with you, dude.
Well, like, you can consider me. You can consider me an LRAT. Ciao. Big love. You have a great day. Thank you again.
You too, dude. What do I do now? Exactly?
I just press stop. I press stop, and you just leave it, and you'll just see it. It'll say it's uploaded, and like in probably 10 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
Take care. Thanks,
okay. Bye.
Lauren.
Thanks.
Bye.